So I think it's interesting because you and I both have 4 kids, right? 1 boy, 3 girls each. My kids are spaced out more. So I've got like 6 to 19, kind of all spaced out. Yours were all grouped together. But I was thinking about this last night. Story time, my mom brings me my mom likes gardening. And so she has all these dwarf iris that have just gotten out of control, taken over her like bed of flowers that she has. And so she had my cousin help her pull a bunch up, and she brings them over and she goes, "Hey, I've got some flowers for you. You're going to have to get them planted in the ground. I have all these dwarf iris." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. No worries. Sounds great." Like I always love taking whatever, you got that we can throw in here. She brought me so many. Like I was trying to split them up at first and like thoughtfully plot them out. By the end, I was like, dude, somebody dig me a hole. I'll just throw them all in there. Like, I don't know. There's hundreds upon hundreds of these dwarf iris. And I'm like, okay, we just need to get these on the ground, right? But I was thinking about when I was sitting out there and I was like, I mean, I got married at 17, became a mom at 17, like, did all the things young. But I was thinking about it and I'm like, what are the things that like I enjoy doing? You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes with just the kids and life and whatever it is that you're doing, like sometimes I stop and think and it's like, what are the things that I actually enjoy doing? Like, not in the way of like that cheap, lame, like self-care, self-love, it's all you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean it in that way where we take it and it's all like you, and it's because then it becomes very negative that like, oh, my husband's in my way, oh, my kids are in my way, right? Like it's very self-centered. But I mean it in the way of like, I feel like sometimes, especially as women, we're so busy and so focused on so many things that we serve through, right? We serve our husband, we serve our children, just life, all the pieces and all of that. But then sometimes I think it's interesting, just that thought of like my husband and I have been together for so long. I was 14 when we started dating, that sometimes I laugh, right? I'm like, do I actually like this? Or do I just like this because like we've liked this together for so long? The kids laugh at me because as I get older, I love like lemony things. I love salt and vinegar. Like I love all of the I like dark bitter chocolate. Like, and so we've kind of laughed and we're like, do I actually like those? Or do I just know that nobody else will eat those? So now I have trained myself to like them, right? So that way nobody gets into them. But like I stop and I think sometimes it's like, what are the things that like I like that I do for me? Like, is that a weird question? Because I feel like it's probably a weird question.
You've eaten so many crusts off of sandwiches that now you're like, obviously the crust is fine.
Yeah.
But if you were, let's say, a 6-year-old child and given a plate of a sandwich, would you naturally have requested the crust be cut off, or would you have requested a plate full of crust? I see the conundrum.
Right? Like, isn't it interesting that when you think about it, again, not in that way of like that cheesy, like self-care, do me, or whatever, like the things are, but I think you stop and think about it sometimes. And then I start thinking like, this is a great conversation to have with you. Your kids are getting older, right? Now that they're getting older and they don't, even with us. So I still do have a 6-year-old, but my other kids are getting ready to turn 11. We've got a 13 and a 19. So like my level of being needed is still very different, right, than it was over the past few years. Like it really has changed so much. And have you found yourself being like, what do I like? What do I do? Right? Like it's almost this like, again, that like midlife crisis or something where you're like, what is it I do here? What do I want to be doing here? You're like, yep. See, but that's how it ties into my story of all the iris blooms, because I'm all the bulbs, because I'm doing that. And my husband's like, "Hun, do you want me just to like, do you want us just to dig that? Like, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, I am having the best day in the whole wide world out here tinkering with 8 billion iris bulbs. Like physically it started my foot. I still can't dig with the shovel as well. So I had like a couple like physical things that were kind of like, like it's kind of frustrating just because like I'm having a hard time doing it. But I was like, there is nowhere else right now than I would rather be. Like, I know the house is a mess. I know I didn't get to everything. Like, I know there's work that needs to be done and stuff that needs to be dealt with. But like, we'll all go to bed a little bit later tonight. Let's just stay out here, enjoy. And I want to like dig up holes all over the yard and plant a bunch of iris. One of those like, I love doing this. This is what I want to do. I don't want to go do anything else. Like, I want to be out here. I want to go to bed exhausted tonight with like my shoulders hurting because I'm doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I actually want to do that.
I love this. I think this is a very fun conversation. And yes. Because
I think it's a hard one, right? Like when I ask you that and you go, oh yeah, but I think that like, that's a conversation worth having when we're like, ooh, this weird spot you get to when your kids are getting older and like things are happening. And then you're like, what do I like? What is it I do?
I have filled my time in the last 18 years with children-centered things. I have not. There are always times when you lose yourself and you're the one taking the back seat. Most of your child's childhood is like that. You take the back seat, you do the thing, whatever. But there are times when your preferences really take the back seat, like far back, because you are so invested in the thing. And then you come up for air. I think it's kind of like doing a really big project. Like if you're painting your house and you're really invested in painting your whole house, you get 2 weeks where everything in your life is disrupted from painting your house, but you work really hard to get it done. And then after those 2 weeks, you go, oh, well, what did I do before I was so consumed with painting my house? It's been 2 weeks. I don't exactly, like you remember, but like, what, like, I've been so consumed with this. What did I do?
And then all of a sudden you get back on track with like laundry and dishes and all the other things. And you're like, oh, look at this. We're all like running forward again, right? But it's kind of this like,
I've been really consumed with my children and the project of raising my children. And now I've come up from that real in-depth, like focus. And now, well, what did I enjoy before I had kids? What did I enjoy while they were growing? And you're talking about the difference between enjoying something like, oh, I enjoy the afternoon, and feeling that fulfilled spark within you. Like you felt it. It was not just, I am enjoying this, because everybody can enjoy a situation without it touching them and meaning something to them. It's just a moment. Yeah, it's an enjoyable moment, but like, okay. No, this was like a moment where it filled you and like fed your soul, and you grew because of what you felt in that moment. Ooh, this is how I'm supposed to feel. I remember this. Ooh, okay. Somebody like sparked a little fire underneath you, and you felt that little tiny spark, and you were like, oh, that's what warmth feels like. I remember. And
I used to love it.
It's a weird feeling when you have to take back seat, and then now you get to be the driver, and you're like, I haven't driven in like 15 years. What is going on?
Where are we going? I don't even know.
I know how to drive, but that feeling of, this is new. That feeling comes back. And yeah,
I think it is different. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think it is different between you and I because of And it would be different between every mom at that moment. Because mine was so condensed and yours has been so spread out. And there is a difference in how we will approach the exact same conundrum, because we all experience that conundrum. It's just how you and I approach it differently. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
And I think especially too, like every season of life is different. And who I was even 5 years ago versus today is so different, right? Like seasons of life, like things just change and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think especially like you and I both became moms at a really, really young age. So even that idea, like it's not like we went through early adulthood learning who we were and building ourselves as people. And then we moved into marriage and parenting. Like
we
that's
didn't
not how we
find ourselves. We certainly didn't get to find ourselves before we found a spouse and then found children. And well, we didn't find the children, but like, you know, like
they found us.
We just started all that real early, and we didn't get to do that exploration of finding ourselves first and then the other part. We did the other part, and now we're left to try to find ourselves.
And I think I actually like this way better. Like I like that my husband and I grew as adults together. I love that having our children was just always a part of that and growing through all of that. And I think that I've learned so much through marriage and motherhood that has made me a far better. I mean, we laugh and make jokes about who I was before, you know, and I'm like, I would have been a miserable woman. Like I would have done so many things and been so miserable at the end of the day. Like, so I'm so thankful for it in so many ways. Like I don't regret getting married young, having kids right away. Like I wouldn't change any of that. Highly recommend. But it is funny when you stop and you think of it now. And like, I came out today. Okay. Another kind of silly story that added to my like thinking this is a conversation we should have. You know that basically all of my clothing comes from a thrift store. I rarely buy anything like not from a thrift store. Although they had some dresses on clearance at Walmart when we walked through getting groceries yesterday. And my husband was like, honey, that is such a you dress. It was $9 and we went ahead and bought it. So that was my big, like, look out everybody. I got something not from a thrift store.
I was going to caveat that and be like, well, you do shop clearance.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
That's your splurge is the clearance.
And it's got to be like a good clearance before I'm like, all right, you got me.
Because you look at the thrift stores and you're like, I could just do that because that's cute and better and cheaper. And,
I know. So, right. So occasionally I will. And so anyways, we, some like spring, summer clothes. And so we've been doing coffee dates with, and so I took Virginia and we went in because her birthday's coming up. So she went to get her clothes and she got a little dress to wear for her birthday. And it was like super exciting mother-daughter date. Right. But I was like, hey, there's like, we keep very minimal wardrobes, but I did a couple new things. So anyways, I found a couple things that I don't know, maybe it's just getting older or whatever it is, but I love the things that I've seen that I'm like, oh, I love this. It's probably not fashionable. It's probably not like there's probably no, but like, I feel that. That's what's up. Like that's got me written out. So anyways, I come out with this outfit. It's this and these like weird, rusty mustard pants. I don't know how to describe it. So I walk out in this top and this, cause I had all these appointments this morning doing this stuff. Anyways, I come walking out with this. I've got like my little cheetah print tennis shoes on and like a couple things. And I come walking out and I'm all, off and ready to go. And our son looks over at me and he just goes, that is the most mom outfit I've ever seen. I liked it. And he goes, no, it's very you. I don't know how or why, but it's cute. You look very cute. He was very nice. He didn't mean it in a bad way, but he was like, that's just Like, I guarantee you're not going to run into anyone else who's wearing that same thing. And I was like, well, probably not, but I like it. But right, but it's kind of funny, like in that way where you just kind of reach this point and it's like, I don't know really exactly who I am necessarily outside of the obvious, right? I follow the Lord, I love my husband, my children, right? Like the things, right? Like there's the things, obviously. But
We all are under the understanding that those things are taken care of, and now we're talking about the frivolous extras of life.
absolutely. Right.
Okay.
So then I just started thinking, I've just been having these like questions in my head, and I'm like, what do I like? Like, who am I? Like, my kids are getting a little bit older. They're a little more independent. They have their things they want to go do. And I find myself quite often kind of like the third wheel where I'm like, wow, y'all are really good right now. And I'm just in your, like, y'all got your things you're trying to do. And we do a lot of stuff together, but we run into these points where it's like, you would like it if I just got out of y'all's way, right? And like, you'd go have fun. So then we think of things, but it's like, just funny little things where I'm like, I'm in the car heading to physical therapy. My family's already commented on what I'm wearing. I have the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack playing on CD in the car. I'm drinking my protein coffee out of my sheep mug. I'm going through and I'm like, but I feel like in so many ways, like finding those things that I love. Like I got all kinds of planting done last night. I picked up I'm doing a ridiculous, it's probably going to look awful and I'll have to end up stopping at some point, but I'm doing this ridiculous, like upcycled empty bottle border in this garden that we're doing out here in our yard. And we're going to rebuild our fence with pallets. And I'm going to do like a pallet fence with my thing. And then I'm planting, we have these wild climbing roses all over out here. And so I found a bunch in our lower field that I asked my husband to dig up for me so we can like plant them so they can just grow all of it. And I'm like, but these are the things that make me so happy and like spark so much joy to come out here. And maybe it's going to look like a trash pile at the end of the day. And my husband's going to be like, can we not live in a junkyard and like put up a real fence? I don't know, right? Like possibility. But I'm like, I love this. I love this idea of using old pallets in like glass bottles and flowers that I've repurposed from, the forest to like, I don't know, because we love sitting outside and doing podcasts or my husband, like we love doing that. So like, why not make it nice, but like me nice? Like I'm looking forward to this. Like I love this, I think, in this. My kids are getting older and I'm sitting down and thinking about these things for the first time in a long time, right? But like, I think that's such a neat process to be like, what is it that I like? And then when I find some of these things, like my weird rusty mustard pants and denim shirt and things like that, when I find these things, I'm like, I love that. I absolutely love that. $3, you got my vote. I'll pick that up. I'm gonna wear it, And you're right. I'm the only person. Well, no. I did see an elderly gentleman denim shirt that was the male version, but very similar. He was quite elderly, but he would be the closest person that I was actually in my errands today, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. But I don't know. I think there's something about trying to find those things that like we love, but I think it's hard sometimes, right? And you don't want to feel selfish about it. Like I don't mean any of that like in a selfish way. Just appeared out of the curtains. Hi, Butters. But right, like, but just like that, finding yourself in those pieces where you're like, wow, who am I? What do I like? What do I do? I like flowers and a cozy fence made out of old pallet wood. Like, I'm okay with that. I love that. I think it's just cozy and sweet. And I don't know, nobody else has to like it. I like it. I mean, I hope my husband likes it. I'm trying to sell him on the idea. He's like, okay, I get it. But like, we'll see what it looks like when we get there type of a thing.
So my oldest daughter is here in town, and we have been having conversations about what she likes.
Because that's been a big part. This has been huge.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a really big thing. When, again, I think there are these transitional periods in life where we just happen to be trying to find ourselves, and we just, something sticks, and then we kind of try that out for a little bit of time. But there are these experimental periods in life where, like, in your teen, young adult, that transition, you go from liking teen things to sometimes transitioning to like adult things. And you said you weren't going to like those adult things because, like, ugh, that has a flower on it. And I am not girly and I don't like flowers. And then you show up at your mom's house with a floral suitcase, and she goes, wow, look at that. I love your suitcase. And this might be very personal on this, but like, I think we have these transitional periods, and her and I have been talking a lot about experimenting with what you like, clothing wise, how you present yourself is really what we've been talking about, is presentation. Because we're not talking about changing who we are. Like, we're not talking about changing our souls. We're talking about changing our adornments. That's it.
Yeah.
We're talking about adornments. Our souls are still the same. We still are who we are. And sometimes I think that how we look and who we are, we as sinful, awful humans merge these two things, and our souls are not how we look. Mm-hmm. I think that when we identify our souls as how we look, it becomes real awful, because your soul is your soul, and like, you are who you are. You don't have to wear that. But we've been talking a lot about presentation and how it changed, because my daughter went from wearing complete black and kind of, you know, that teenage, come on, y'all, it's that teenage like goth phase, and it's not actually goth, but like, you wear the black clothes, you do the minimalist thing.
And broody for a while.
Your emotions are all over the place, so you feel this like confused broodiness, and your clothing represents that. That's kind of how teenagers are, in my opinion. Well, she has transitioned through this period, and now she's on the other side of it, and she's like, oh, I can like other things besides black, and I can present myself in these ways, and everybody's not going to judge me so strictly, and I can. It's so lovely to see her find what really sparks that like special in her, and she goes, oh, I just like that. And I go, oh, what about it do you like? And she goes, I don't know, but I just like it. I don't even know. I just like it. Awesome. It, in that weird like Con Marie, it sparked joy kind of way, but like, it really did. So,
well, how happy she was being out here in the country, and all of a sudden liking a quiet little town and all of the stuff. And it was like, I get it, right? Us talking to teenagers being like, let's move out to the middle of the country where there's like no attractions, no anything. But we have sheep, it'll be fun. And they're like, okay, this sounds awful. And then we do it, and they're like, oh, I love this. Oh, this is so nice, right?
Because you don't know until you know. And then like, so we talk a lot about taking 3 bites. We have the 3-bite rule in our family. And
isn't that Pete the cat, right?
Dude, I don't even know who Pete the cat is.
Oh. Pete the cat from the book. And then, because there's okay, I'm like, I almost want to call a kid in here because I'm fairly certain it's Pete the cat because it's super cute and it's got soft glow music. The kid, I think Gigi liked it when she was little, and they have to try everything before they
Mhm.
do that. That's the only place I've ever heard of that from. And he wants his mom to skateboard, but she's like scared to skateboard. But
Yes.
they're like, Mom, that was the thing that you have to try it. And so mom comes out and tries
Okay.
skateboarding.
I actually heard it from an Iranian lady. And like that, I heard it from a
Maybe she
woman.
wants to Pete the cat too. I don't know.
So like I heard it from her, and she taught her children. It was the first time I ever heard it, and I was like, absolutely. We've all been told that like 3-bite rule about tasting something when you're a little kid. You have to actually try it. Don't put your preconception notions on it. It will be okay. Just try it.
It's change.
Right. It's that thing. But we have a 3-bite rule in life. Like, I'm not talking dangerous situations. We're going to talk about this in a realistic way.
Yes, but not dangerous, not sinful, not
no,
like
no, absolutely not. You have a 0-bite tolerance, hardcore. Yeah. We're talking about the other things. Have a 3-bite rule where you can test it and see if you like it, because you don't have to stick with it forever. Just try it, see if you spark that joy, because sometimes it's not what you think. Your son has a really interesting idea of what a mom looks like. And I know he adores you and thinks you are just lovely. But in that like teenage way, what a mom outfit. Yes. What a dad thing to say. Like in that like way. Mm-hmm. And so we all have these like notions of what we thought it was going to be like. And then now that we're in it, we're like, oh, am I supposed to like this? I'm supposed to like this, but I don't know if I don't, ooh. And then you're like wrestling with all the things and it feels really selfish. And yeah. So finding yourself after your children have stopped requiring your dedicated attention quite so much is something that I've spoken to professionals about. I'm at that time in life where one day I had all of my kids who needed my attention very significantly. And then I swear I blinked. One afternoon happened and they were like, Ma, we're done. We're good. We don't need you anymore. Well, we need you, but like, we don't need you to be like on top of us. We got this. And but I've always had to do the things. Well, what do I do if I don't have to do the things? Oh, well, what do I do? We talked about this you and I personally, a couple of days ago, with homeschooling. You're like, if I get my stuff done in the morning that I was supposed to do, my children don't actually need me to do their math lessons with them over top of them because they know it. They're just working through the stuff. I could sit beside of them and like read a book. I could read my own book. I could read my own book. I haven't had a moment. And you were like, oh, have a moment like this.
So long since that's even been a possibility.
Okay. I had that like a couple of years ago. And it was this huge moment where I was sitting at the table with my children and we were homeschooling. And it went from, I have to actively be doing this stuff with you guys to, oh, I can just sit beside of you guys and do my own activity. Well, what am I supposed to do while you guys are reading? I was supposed to be reading aloud. What am I supposed to be doing? And it was a shock to my system that I didn't have anything to do. Well, what do you do when you don't have anything to do? Like, I felt ridiculous because then I'm sitting here going, I feel bored, but I don't feel bored because like I have all of these things to do, but I feel bored. What is happening to me? So yeah,
We're now the kids sitting at the table going, I'm bored. What are we doing? What's next? Are you done?
Are you done yet? Can you pay attention to me? Because I'm bored now. I don't have anybody to play with. Like, that's kind of how it felt, was I didn't have anybody to play with. Like, my little persons are gone. Come on, play with me. Let's go. And they don't need you to play with them anymore because, like, they got it. And you did a good job. And that's why they have it. But it feels different to try to figure out what you like outside of that. And then you feel like you have to do the adult thing. Well, obviously, women who have children, those ages, we need to start scrapbooking. That's what needs to happen. Well, I guess I'm doomed to scrapbooking life.
Scrapbooker now. But isn't that what's interesting is then you have to start asking, like, okay, what is it that I do enjoy? Because what you enjoy today might be different than what you enjoyed, 21 before you had kids, right? Like, you start putting that together. And I mean, that's a long time, that's gone by. And while I think there's still similarities, but you're right. It's like how we look, what we do. We get excited about what we find fulfillment in. Like it's those pieces of things I think that change.
It's almost like some of your helper instincts of I'm going to help my child grow and learn. Those instincts did not just expire when your child turned of a certain age. And so you still have those, and you still have this skill that you can share with people. And that's what you were demonstrating in the grocery store, is that you still have helper skills. You knew more than the gentleman did at the time. And so you were like, I have this skill. I can help you out. Let me help you out. Let me share my skill with you. I got this. But I think that's what we're all supposed to do, is grow with the skills, then to bring them further into the later parts of our lives. And the same woman who told me the 3-bite rule said that you should never, when you're younger, say never, because it's going to be the next thing you do. And I'm like,
that feels pretty solid.
Oh, snap. Yep. If you are like, oh, I'm never going to do that. That's usually where
put you next.
That's where life ends up. And like, I was never going to have kids. Come on now. I was never going to have kids. Ever.
Yeah.
God knew so much better than joke's on me. He knew better, and like he had the path, and I'm just supposed to live it. And like, but don't corner yourselves into nevers, because that's usually not gonna stick how you think it is.
I want to serve and enjoy my life in whatever blessings God's put before me that day, and whatever opportunities for service come along. Like, I don't have to just go sit in a box because that's what everybody else is doing. Like, if I want to wear my funky clothes that I love and make my yard look beautiful to me and hang out and help people pick out mangoes, like if that's what I want to do and feel like called to go do, like I have the absolute freedom to go do that. But like I think it's amazing to see that we were laughing the other day that you weren't Miss like techie person, and you're now the single person that makes all of Heavenly Minded Anything run, because you run all of the stuff. Like, you took that time and figured out how to use these programs and how to try this stuff out. And now you're like super smart guru lady over here knowing how to do all the things. And I'm just blown away. I feel like, I'm 80 years old over here trying to get to my email, and can't figure it out. You've become so good at it because, again, but I think for you, it was that piece where like all of a sudden you had this open time And you're like, I still want a thing to be doing and feeling like I'm like producing something, you know? And so you volunteered to help me with this stuff. And the next thing you know, we have this whole system built and all these things, and like, you're the expert on it. But again, it was that opening of like, I'll try it.
Okay, you did. You just described it again. Skills did not go away when my children stopped needing me quite as heavily. I got to take those same skills. I'm a learner. That's what I am. I can't not learn. So when my children were really little and I got to homeschool them and I was teaching them all the time, I was constantly working on learning how to teach them. Yeah. When I stopped having to learn how to teach them because they were essentially teaching themselves, I no longer had to learn what they had to learn, and I got to choose what I wanted to learn. And it was this moment of, what if I choose wrong? Like, I haven't had to choose something for a really long time. My choice is in the back. Like, what if I choose wrong? And then it was this whole like experimental time where I really felt like I was wasting a ton of time because I should have been investing all of this time in my children. And like, why am I investing it in something that I want to do? That seems really super selfish. Well, no, my time was no longer needed with my children in the same way. And I could be sitting beside of them and having them observe me learning alongside of them, opposed to me teaching them. They got to observe me as a learner, and I get to learn something useful for me in life, and they get to learn things that are useful for them in life. And I told my husband about the, like, what if I choose wrong? What if I like, okay, I saw a video on YouTube. This is how it always happens. It's so awful. I'm so weird. I just realized how weird I am and now,
dude, it's okay. You're friends with the crazy mango lady. Like,
right.
We're all weird here, amigo.
It's gotta be okay. Okay. Now, I saw this video on the YouTubes and I'm like, I could do that. I could utilize that thing in my life. And then I did. And then I reached out and I was like, hey, I'm utilizing this thing. You guys could utilize it too. And then it just kept going. And so honey, what if I don't use the skill that I am investing in? And he's like, why does it matter? If you're going to utilize that, you don't know where you're going to be utilized way in the future. You know, it's not being utilized right this second, but like, you don't know where you will be utilized and what skill God is building in you in that moment for use later. I didn't know that me watching a YouTube video would turn into, hey, so yeah, like, you want to do this stuff? Come on, buddy.
It powers a whole co-op. It powers a collective. It powers just all of heavenly minded everything. You watching that one video.
Yeah,
right?
And it was one of those things that was like on the next played thing that I didn't come to the TV fast enough to like put on the video I wanted or whatever. It was one of those moments. And then it was, oh, this is interesting. Teach me more about this computer stuff, because I know nothing. I couldn't even figure out how to PayPal somebody. Come on, like, I am, guys.
Remember that,
right?
Yes. That was like one of the first messages. You're like, I want to send the ministry something, but I don't know how PayPal works. Can I try one just to make sure it works?
I felt ridiculous. But now, like,
and now I'm like, Sabrina, please run the entire thing.
My daughter says, Mom, do you know how many times Heidi in her home will just go, Sabrina? Because
It
something,
happens all the time.
the light will start flashing and you're like, Sabrina, why are you not here to fix that light? And so she's told me this. I'm like,
because we do it all the time, but then your daughter's living with us. Like she's visiting you right now, but she's living with us. And so it's like, oh, sorry, should I explain this? That I just talk audibly to your mom, even though I know she's on the other side of the country and can't hear me right now. But like we just do it all the time. But now you're here hearing us do it. Is that weird? I'll be like, where are you?
But I think that you have to invest in yourself. But I think there's a fine line between what you were talking about earlier with that like superficial self-care.
Yeah.
And like running away with that concept of it's just self-care. It's just self-care. I gotta feed me. I gotta put my oxygen mask on first. Yeah, you do. But how often are you doing it? And are you relying on those words to make it okay? Because that's weird. But truly investing in yourself so that God can take the skills and utilize them in a way that he sees fit for his future and his plans is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not selfish to invest in yourself when things are taken care of. I'm not saying ignore your children and only invest in yourself. We're talking about the transition times that your kids are no longer babies and you have that free time because everything else is kind of in order. Don't put this on top of that stuff and do this and make this all out of order. Have your stuff in order and then add to it.
Yeah, I think seeing that, right? Like, since we're like wrapping this up, I don't really know if this was a helpful conversation that solves something or anything of the like, but I still think it's an important one because I think it is that where it's like noticing things are lightening in one load in one area of life and going, okay, that was a great time for my husband and I to be like, wow, we've both been so focused on the kids. Maybe we can be a little more focused on our relationship a little bit. And so we take off every other, we have a day every other week where we go out and we do date day. We do doctor's appointments and hang out together and do stuff and that's our day. Our kids are so set. They're good. They're having a great time. We go do our thing. We get that time with one another, like being able to invest in those different things where it's like, hey, there's other areas of my life that I can pour into, re-looking inside, which I haven't done very much of for the past 20 years and being like, what sparks me, what do I want to pour into? What do I really enjoy? What am I lacking in and need to work on? You know what I mean? And you kind of go through those. And I think it's a wise thing to do and a wise thing to remember. I tell this to the kids all the time, but who says you have to be a certain person or do a certain thing or look a certain way or whatever, right? Like we put all through a biblical lens. And then you do what you feel called to do. Like we don't have to fit into somebody's box. And so if you want to be that person who learns, who's never been good with electronics before, but now learns and runs a whole thing, then go be that. If you want to be the person who has no problem stepping out and helping people pick mangoes, be that person. If you want to wear weird clothes from the thrift store, be that person too. Okay. Do whatever it is. But I think it is so amazing to remember that and be like, I think the other hand is just kind of giving up on all of it and like, well, the kids. And so I'm just a no, but you know what I mean? Just kind of like throw all that off. And I don't think we should do that either. So I don't really know what the conclusion to all of this is, but I think it's worthwhile to look at these things.
I truly believe that not enough people have conversations like this that anybody else can hear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real, like these are kind of like therapy conversations that you keep for like the therapist office and you just disclose to your therapist that you feel inadequate and like you have this time and what am I supposed to do with it? Am I worthless because now I'm not pouring into the what am I?
Mhm.
Who I like? Who am I? You don't just walk around as a 40-year-old going, "Who am I? Help me."
Help.
You don't do that. You have to look put together. But this is a place where we can be really vulnerable and be like, "So I've been feeling like I can't figure out what to do with life, and I should have that figured out because I'm almost 40 and like I have extra time now and I don't know what to do. Do I get a job? How did you guys deal with this friend
Yeah.
who is similar to me and has the same life circumstances ish?
Mhm.
You need a space to do that. And if nobody ever talks about it, except for in a therapist's office or like behind those closed doors,
Right.
nobody else knows that that's a real struggle for anybody. It's
You feel
happening.
alienated.
It's only happening behind closed doors. So you've never been exposed to it. So you don't know that that's a problem that other people have and that you're not crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all, you're not crazy. If you feel these ways, it's
Yeah.
okay. Other people feel it too. Feelings are just feelings and you can work through them and it's okay.
Yeah.
Other moms have it.
And I think it's encouraging to see other people trying to sort through it and figure it out too, right? Because you don't know if you don't try. The worst that can happen is it doesn't work, but then you know, right? And you learn and you continue, just like we would tell our kids. So try things, build a pallet fence and upcycle old bottles to make a garden ledge. And I don't know, do the weird things that you're like, maybe I just always wanted to do it. Maybe I do it and I realize that it makes my yard look like a dumpster heap. And we go, you know what? That was a bad idea. We're going to change this up. Maybe that happens. But
Now
maybe
you know.
now I know. Yeah.
Now you know.
Maybe. So, anyways, I don't know. I just was like, you know what? That's what we got to talk about today because somebody needs to talk about it. I don't know what the answer is or what the steps are, or any of the other pieces, but I feel like I got a lot of that going on here lately, but I'm enjoying it. Like, instead of being like, I feel like you go through those things where like, oh, I don't want my kids to get older now. What do I do? Like, you kind of go through that, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. I love enjoying my kids getting older. Not, I mean, they're still younger, but I love enjoying all these phases of life. But like, I want to enjoy this phase too, where like I figure out who middle-aged Heidi even is, right? Who am I? I like doing this.
I love that. I love that so much. Because that's exactly what I feel like. Who is middle-aged Sabrina?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have to go call my mom back because she's been messaging me while we're doing this. Mom, I'm coming. But thank you all so much for hanging out with us here today. Of course, we have more of these that I can link here at the end. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free, leave us a comment down below, put a little coffee cup next to it so we know you want to see your question answered in one of our chatty coffee dates. Otherwise, we will see you all around in whatever we see you around in next. So have a wonderful day and we will see you all then. Bye, friends.
Bye.